This is a mid-2012 15-inch unibody MacBook Pro. Essentially, this is the final iteration of the unibody generation of MacBook Pros, and obviously is the best. So today we're going to find out if you should buy this MacBook in 2020, I think the year is? Yeah, 2020. Now, I own a couple of these MacBook Pros. This one here is the 2.7 gigahertz i7. All 2012 MacBook Pros come with a quad-core i7. They have either 2.3 gigahertz, 2.6, or 2.7, which is what this one is. And then I also have this one, which is a 2.6. This one, which is my main machine, has the anti-glare high-resolution display, whereas that one just has the standard resolution glossy. So there's three display options. You could get the 1440 by 900 glossy, which is just the black glass display, and then you can get the high-resolution glossy, which is 1680 by 1050. You can get that in either glossy or this matte anti-glare option, which has an aluminum bezel and no cover glass at all, which I used to think didn't look good. Like, I thought it looked like a MacBook Air, but now that I have actually owned one, I think it looks a lot nicer. Like, it's just all wrapped in aluminum now, and I think it's a really cool and unique look. Now, obviously, by today's standards, a 1440p display, or I guess it's 900 technically, 1440 by 900 is not very good by today's standards. However, I would say you could call this one acceptable. It's no Retina display, but it will still get you by just fine, and it looks, I would say it looks really, really nice still to this day. Alright, so what else makes this MacBook Pro so special? Why is everyone still going after this MacBook Pro 8 years on? Well, like I said earlier, it is the final generation of the unibody MacBook Pro before the Retina generation. In fact, this one came out on the same day as the original MacBook Pro Retina, so you had two MacBook Pros to pick from back then, and both shared the same specs. Even like the early 2013 Retina MacBook Pros still use the same specs as this pretty much for the most part. And honestly, you know, there wasn't a huge spec bump or like performance increase in the MacBook Pro lineup until like the 2018. Like this, for comparing it to a 2017 MacBook Pro, it's not going to be that far off at all, which is impressive because there just wasn't a lot of improvement to the Intel processors in the mid part of the last decade. So I would say this is still a very capable machine. It's still going to run faster than current MacBook Airs. You know, maybe not like in terms of the Geekbench single core, but definitely the multi-core, since this is a quad-core processor. So I would argue that this is still more powerful than current MacBook Airs, which obviously even, you know, those MacBook Airs that are 8 years newer than this, this should still be faster because it's a Pro. You can upgrade this up to 16 gigs of RAM, which is obviously what I have, and I think 16 was the maximum you could have in MacBooks for a while, until at least 2015, maybe all the way up until 2017. I am not sure. I should really check my Mac tracker, which I conveniently have right here. And yeah, it looks like 16 gigabytes is the max amount of memory you could have in a MacBook Pro until the 2018 generation came along. I would say the biggest selling point for these MacBooks is their upgradeability. It is so easy to just, you know, get inside of your MacBook Pro and tear things up and just do whatever upgrades you really want. Obviously, SSD and RAM are the big ones, the easy ones. This has a 1 terabyte SSD. You can also take out the optical drive, which I have, and put in a second SSD, which I have not done. It just doesn't have an optical drive, which means it is lighter. But you can either put in another SSD, another hard drive. You can put in a Blu-ray drive. So yeah, a lot of options. And then another thing I've done, which is really unique on this MacBook Pro, is I have installed a custom airport card, which upgrades the connectivity of this MacBook Pro to 802.11 AC Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.2. So again, we're talking connectivity standards of 2017 MacBook Pros in this bad boy. Now, I'd have to say the biggest thing holding this back is the graphics. You know, there's definitely been a lot of improvement in that department every year since this computer came out. So they're gonna be still like buttery smooth animations through all of the system. This is really hard to do, but guys, I'm just gonna say. Everything is gonna be buttery smooth as you would want it. And it's really nice, but anything too intensive is going to be a little so-so on these graphics. It's the NVIDIA GeForce 650M GT graphics with 1 gig of VRAM. So those are the dedicated. It also has integrated graphics, which is just Intel HD 4000 with either a gig or a gig and a half of VRAM, depending on which OS you're running. Even the 16-inch MacBook Pro that just came out still has Intel integrated graphics with a gig and a half of VRAM, so that doesn't really ever get better. Graphics is where things fall a little short. I'm still happy with it. Like, it's gonna be fine for any kind of video editing. It's just, you know, more intense like gaming and things like that. It's just gonna fall short a little bit. But that is no reason to disregard this MacBook Pro, because for web browsing, video editing, like I said, like, this is a great video editing machine for pretty cheap. Handles 1080p just fine. 4K might be a little too much. I haven't tried it myself. I don't have anything that records 4K except my phone. I don't know why I haven't tried it. I could. We could put that to the test in a future video. I don't know. But, why are we my photos? I don't know. The other thing is on the software side, this is currently the oldest supported MacBook Pro that still runs the latest version of macOS, which is Catalina. So it's supported natively under that, and you should have no issues with compatibility at this point. However, it is hard to say how much longer this will be supported under the latest release of macOS. It could end in just a couple months here when we see 10.16, or it could get 1 or 2 more versions, because like we saw back with OS X Yosemite, that supported all the machines that were supported under Mavericks and Mountain Lion, and then even El Capitan was supported on all the same machines. So they didn't discontinue any Macs on Mountain Lion, Mavericks, or Yosemite. They discontinued some on Lion, and then all the way to El Capitan. 4 releases ahead, there were no Macs that got discontinued. So I'm really hoping that that happens again, because, you know, they discontinued 2010 and 2011 Macs on High Sierra, and then we had Mojave, and now Catalina, and they could choose to discontinue this one, 2012s and early 2013s, or they could support it for 1 more or even 2 more versions, like we saw happen a couple years ago with Yosemite and El Capitan, which is what I am hoping for. So I would say if you're in the market for this MacBook Pro, still a very desirable, very capable, very reliable, durable, just everything you would want in a MacBook, can still be just as fast as many very modern Macs, all that good stuff. But I would say if you're looking to buy one of these, I might suggest waiting just not even 2 months, like a month and a half, when we see the supported Macs for 10.16. And if this is still supported, that means it'll probably be supported for the next 2 years. And then I would say if it is, definitely buy this. If not, if it gets axed with Catalina, it's a harder recommendation for me to make. I mean, you can still run it under the patchers that will come out most likely for the next versions of macOS. They make patcher tools to run more recent versions of macOS on older Macs that don't support those versions. So for example, you can run Catalina on 2010 MacBook Pro using the patcher, even though it's not technically supported by Apple. So I'm sure it will still have that capability, and you'll be able to run the latest versions of macOS, not natively, but still you will be able to technically run them. So at that point, it's up to you. I mean, this is still going to be a great machine for many years to come, and I'll honestly be a little disappointed if they choose not to support it for a couple more releases. So I'm hoping that'll be the case, and yeah, like I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do if you want this MacBook Pro. I am selling mine right here for my other one, which is the glossy one with the 2.6 gigahertz, so it is the upper mid-tier model. 8 gigs of RAM, 500 gigabyte SSD. Yes, also very solid machine. So yes, MacBook Pro 2012 15-inch unibody. It is considered to be one of the best, if not the best, MacBook of all time, which is insane still to this day. It's been 8 years, but it shrugs off those years like it's nothing, and it's still awesome. You got all the I/O, you got MagSafe, you don't have to worry about pulling your MacBook across the room when you trip on the cord. You have Ethernet, FireWire, which, what even is that? Mini DisplayPort. There's no HDMI port, which is one thing that I kind of wish it had. But you can get this adapter. It is Mini DisplayPort or Thunderbolt to HDMI. I don't know why I called that a Mini DisplayPort, because it's not anymore. It is a Thunderbolt port, which is the same connector as Mini Display. So you can use those accessories with it, but you can also use the Thunderbolt accessories. I just have this one from my old MacBook Pro, which is a 2010, so it did not have Thunderbolt. It had Mini Display, but it still works, and I still just use it because I don't want to buy another one if I don't have to. So yeah, it just converts to HDMI, and that's really the only adapter or dongle you will need. Two USB 3.0 ports. That's one of the highlights of this one in particular, because this is the only unibody MacBook Pro to have USB 3, and USB 2 is done for, and it is not good. So you'll definitely want this. SD card slot, which is my favorite and is so nice to have. And then you have separate microphone and headphone jacks, so that's also nice. You have this little battery indicator on the side. I don't know if you can see that. Let's focus in on that. So super cool, you can see your battery status right on the side there without even having to open it up. And then on this side you have a DVD drive, which I mentioned, but mine doesn't have an optical drive inside, so it's just for decoration, this little slot on there. But like I said, you could put in a Blu-ray drive if you wanted to, so that would be an upgrade, or you can put in hard drives, SSDs, and then you won't have the optical drive. Maybe some people still use it. This was the last Mac to still have it, but yeah, it's not too useful anymore. And then you have this little slot, which is Kensington lock. Again, what even is that? So that is the 2012 MacBook Pro. Should you buy it? I already kind of answered it. I would say def buy it. Like I said, you could consider waiting a couple months to see if it will be still supported, and if it's not, that might affect your decision. But like I said, it will still be supported under patcher tools and things, most likely, pretty much definitely. So it's really hard to say, but I am impressed by how well this thing holds up. This is obviously my main computer. Use it every single day. I use it a little too much, let's just say that. But I just love it. I would definitely recommend this still 8 years later. But yes, 2012 MacBook Pro is where it's at. But anyway guys, thank you for watching my crazy video about the 2012 MacBook Pro. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment, and do all the things that people do. And with that, I am out. Yes. I'm being stupid.